Hey guys, and welcome to Untier Talk. What were we calling it? 30.5?
Untier Talk 30.5.
Yeah, 30 point. Let me turn you up a little bit. 30.5 because basically there's two more circuit sets, and we want to keep up with the circuit, but that last one took forever. That was 80 minutes of PU podcasting. What the hell? This should be shorter though. Because both these series were only two games, and I also think there's just less to say about them to be TBH. To be TBH. Maybe not, but ideally it's just like a toss out, 30 minutes. Here's the circuit sets we missed and that didn't happen. So, do you want to start with Tasker Ziri or your games?
Let's start with Tasker Ziri to keep the chronological order.
Oh, good. That's already one instance of you cutting out in 1 minute, so I'm sure that won't be that one. All right, so as always, games are linked below. So game one is actually like pretty strong standard stuff for both players without any significant I really didn't have many matchup thoughts looking at this game at all. Yes, blow into your mic. Blowing into your mic is going to definitely improve how much you're cutting out. So there's not a ton on matchup, to be honest, right? Did you have any?
Yeah, it's sort of like better player wins at this point, right? It's typical balance versus balance matchup. Not really too many standout things. At team preview, I thought I know what Ziri's plan was, but it changed dramatically over the course of the game. Whereas Tasker, he was sort of based on his team structure. You could guess a lot of his sets. I'll give you an example that the Mesprit is. The Mesprit would have to be like a Kolber set or a Z-move set, purely for the fact that he has no Gerda matchup outside of it.
Yeah, so, it's definitely a fat Mesprit with the Scarf Kabu. I don't get a great sense of game plan from Ziri. There's no specific thing that wall breaks exceptionally well or anything. Tasker's not super pressured by specs. Well, okay, I'm sorry. That was the impression going into the game. With hindsight, I get how Ziri wants to break. And obviously, I guess actually this is something that should have been more obvious when I watched the game, because if you have a Regirock and a Togedemaru on a team like this, the Mesprit's pretty much going to have to be an offensive set. But I think my assumption was that Swanna would be the Z-move user.
Z defog. Or Z Sky Strike.
Z defog. Yeah, Z-move with defog, not Z defog.
Yeah.
That sounded... Yeah, so I figured Swanna would be the Z-move user, but in hindsight, it's offensive Mesprit, which is definitely the biggest wall breaker / threat in the game. Tasker just doesn't really have huge threats. NP Persian, if it is that, can be pretty annoying. Quiver Dance Lilligant, Ziri has to think a bit, but he's got plenty of checks. There's just not much that's that scary from either side, apart from the Mesprit.
I'd say the big thing I think that might be playing in Tasker's head is that if you look at Ziri's team, he has quite a few Lilligant checks.
Yeah, Lilligant's just not scary, especially if it happens to be Scarf Swanna. Although either way, even just having Scarf Toad plus Skuntank plus Roselia, that's a pretty gosh darn solid Lilligant matchup right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'd say that overall the key thing I think which stood out at the team builder is that that mainly Tasker was playing it a bit more safe, and that Ziri was looking also to outplay Tasker. He wasn't looking to. You remember when I was
saying... If you keep umming and ahhing, this is all going to take 80 minutes. No, but yeah, Ziri's team is a bit more out there, but even then, I don't know that that's super fair. It's still a reasonably... standard team. I think there's a lot of things that would break both Tasker's team and Ziri's team. They are balanced. There's only Ziri has basically like one normal check, and then Regirock has to be the mon to stop Kangaskhan, or Roselli's the only thing that's switching Jellicent. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could break down the team, but neither of them just happen to have big threats. Anyway, so getting into the game, Tasker starts because you're just taking so long to preview, Jed. I'm the one who has to keep this shit moving. Anyway, so Tasker starts out pretty strong. Like he gets the Toxic the Regirock, he gets a free pivot on the Skunk, he gets a nasty plot with Persian. He decides to set up with Persian turn 5. Which to me was pretty interesting. He sets up on a Skuntank clicking Poison Jab, which is like, if he got poisoned that first turn, that's real bad. But he doesn't get poisoned. So his Persian does a lot to Skunk, takes out the Rose, and then Ziri reveals Scarf Swanna. And this was after the point that it looked like Togue was probably the Scarfer because he led with it and U-turned to turn 1. So at this point, I'm like, I don't know if he's dual Scarfer or support offensive kind of Togue, and even after the game I still don't know what the deal with that is, to be honest. I don't really I couldn't tell you. Scarf Swan is fine on this team, I think. It's just I'm not sure what support Togue is really doing here.
Well, not so much support Togue, just Togue in general. If you're not using it as a Scarfer and you're not really abusing the healing the wish aspect of the support set, I don't really see the point of it.
Well, I think it's an okay pivot and defensive is trying to be a check to things. But the thing about Togue is you need a secondary check if you're using it. Togue is his ice resist. That is the biggest thing. Specs Auroras is the #1 threat to Ziri's team probably. So that's why it would kind of...
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, but Alolan Sandslash, if it was offensive, is also just... I would never use Ziri's team specifically because of the Alolan Sandslash matchup. Everything else is at least somewhat outplayable, but I would never use Ziri's team because it literally dies to hell.
He can outplay with Drain Punch Regirock. Well, assuming it is Drain Punch.
He revealed Earthquake.
Yeah. I mean, that might be an oversight at preview.
Yeah,
but,
I guess it would have to be Drain Punch Regirock for me to even consider using it, and even then, I probably wouldn't, because Jesus Christ, it dies to hail. But that's not the point. So Scarf Swanna is revealed, because the Roselia died, Tasker can go in with Specs Elegant, because it is Specs on this team, because it did 44 to Togue with a Giga Drain. Actually, I should check... the calcs to see if that has HP investment. So Lilligant, Choice, Specs.
Seems offensive, doesn't it? Well,
Specs Giga Drain versus Scarf Togue. Nope, that does 38 to 46. So I don't think he has any defensive investment unless it's max defense for whatever.
So it's offensive, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
offensive. Or
it's
it could
offensive.
be CB. Imagine CB Togedomaro.
You're still doing the breakup thing. Lay off your mic. If you get excited, your mic is going to pop, and I cannot edit that out effectively. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It would be acceptable if I was a better editor, so I'll take some of the blame. I still don't know what the deal with the Togue is. Well, let's see. Can we calc if it's... CB? No, there's no way it's CB, because U-turn did 12% to Alolan Sandslash earlier.
Shit. Well, I mean... 12%, 18%, that's not really... Okay,
so if Tasker is 0-0, then Scarf Togue only does 9 to 10? Oh, this might be CB Togue. Yeah, it's CB Togue. You're right.
That's crazy.
That's the one calc I didn't check. Okay, so it's CB Togue. That's not the important thing. We are already taking forever. Okay, that's not the important thing. The important thing is Ziri gets his Mesprit in on Tasker's Mesprit. Calm Minds as Tasker. He gets 2 Calm Minds as Tasker U-turns out of the Mesprit. And then he OHKOs... Tasker goes Sandslash, doubles back to Mesprit, gets OHKO'd by Gigavolt Havoc. This is actually a set I've been advocating for a while. I've only actually used one team with it, but because I've recycled teams so much, it feels like I've been using it a crap ton. But Calm Mind Z Thunder is the set I've been using. I think it's really good. It's a nice way to bring in Skunk and kill it. So if he's running T-Spikes Rose, this is a good partner because Skunk's going to come in. It's going to do a lot to you, but you can take a hit and just drop the Z Thunder at +1, just kill it. So that like makes T-Spikes a lot better if that's what he's doing. And beyond that, it's just a really strong breaker. So that is the thing that Tasker's afraid of.
Just to dive a bit deeper into that, what do you run as your filler then, as your third move on that set? Because I've seen the whole spectrum. Like some run HP fighting in that third slot, some run Ice Beam, some run like Healing Wish.
You have Thunder for Alolan Sandslash. I've been running Ice Beam because it just helps versus a couple random things specific to the team. Like I think I specifically wanted to hit Mudsdale better than Psychic could. Sorry, I just moved to a different location, by the way, if you heard that. But yeah, you can run pretty much whatever. Calm Mind, Psychic, Gigavolt, Havoc, that's all you really need. And after he OHKOs the Mesprit, Lilligant comes in, like, tries to Petal Dance, doesn't kill, dies to Psyshock. I don't agree with Psyshock. You do not really need it, but it doesn't really matter. And at that point, Tasker is kind of just lost.
Sure.
Like the game keeps going, and it is a big thing when Togue comes in and it does 81% to the Sandslash with reversal. So I guess if Tasker had gone hard girder on the reversal, like he'd still be able to play a little while longer, but I don't think he was winning regardless, just because he'd have to be really absolutely perfect predicting around Scarf Swanna and getting a couple other things right. Okay, I guess actually it might have been kind of playable, but I guess, okay, so Togue lures the Alolan Sandslash, does 81% with a reversal to kill it. Tasker had a girder switch in, but he didn't switch it in because, you're just going to assume a Togue is going to U-turn out of Alolan Sandslash. And that's it. He's got 2 Mons left, and they both lose to Scarf Swanna. And that's pretty much the game, I think, actually. Okay, so the lure is more of the big things. Here he brought 2 kind of weird sets, picked up 2 big kills, and in a balance versus balance matchup, it's just really hard to come back from that, because Tasker just did not have a strong win con. His only sweeper-ish thing was Nasty Plot, Alolan Persian, and that's just, like, not a Mon that ever beats Scarfers. Right? You just gone? He muted himself. I don't know why. Hajad, most people, like, when they mute themselves, they like, type in something, so you might be assuming I should check our Discord chat, but Hajad doesn't say things, so he might have just gotten walked in on. I don't know. But actually, that lets me just wrap this game a little kind of quick, because this one game already took 12 minutes, which is way too long. So yeah, Ziri just kind of picks up some lures, and really there's not a lot Tasker could do. It was solidly played from both sides. I don't think there's any notable misplays. Just because, like, I guess because he saw it was CB Togue, it was a little stupid to stay in with Alolan Sandslash, but that's, like, even with CB, I would not automatically assume reversal, so that's okay. Game 2 is probably the more interesting one, in my opinion. Tasker brings some weird shit, but, like, weird shit I respect. Like, more on the reasonable side than, like, Katut or Pepe's teams from earlier. He's got a Drifblim, he's got a Kangaskhan, and that's both on the same team, which is pretty weird for, like, 2 lesser-seen Mons. And Jiri has, like, really fucking standard Articuno balance. Where is Hajad ever coming back? I mean, I'm just going to keep carrying this because, honestly, we're not doing another take. I want to get this out, and it's a little filler episode anyway. So, yeah, he's just got, like, Kuno, Poliwrath, Mesprit, Togue, Skuntank, Mudsdale, the most standard team I think we've seen in the entire circuit so far. Just nothing super strong, no exceptional breakers here. The impetus is really on Tasker to win with his, like, niche offensive threats. Like, Tasker needs to be the one playing offensively, clutching it out with Alolan Egg, Kangaskhan, and Drifblim, all being varying levels of actually kind of scary. Like, Trick Room Alolan Egg just does a huge number to Ziri's team if rocks ever go up. Kangaskhan's strong, but he does have... Like, everything on Ziri's team kind of checks it and also kind of loses to it, which is pretty much Kanga, like, in general. That's always what happens. Jeez, I kind of want to stall for Hajad, but we're just going to keep going. So the early game, Tasker's Toad gets pursued turn 1 for 60%, which means it's not switching into Kuno very well at all, which is kind of big because that's his Kuno check. So already, like, Ziri went from having good offensive pressure with Kuno, especially if it was a hidden power, to Kuno is an unstoppable threat. And literally, turn 3, Tasker gets up a spike and then just lets his Quillfish get OHKO'd by Freeze Dry because he cannot switch into Articuno. It's just one of those random things. But that's okay, because Tasker has a Alolan Egg, which Ziri can't switch into. So Toad comes in U-turns, which I'm only mentioning because it also gets chipped by Skunk's helmet again. So, like, Toad is already pretty much dead, which is pretty annoying for Tasker. And Ziri gets off the defog with Skunk, and Kangaskhan double edges into that and takes literally 60% between Aftermath, double edge recoil, and helmet. And Tasker's just getting so chipped. But on the bright side, the Skunk is dead, and that's something that forces Alolan Egg to Draco Meteor, which means that's going to have an easier time sweeping. Tasker gets rocks. Ziri does not immediately remove the rocks with Kuno. Like, Tasker sets up rocks with a defensive Mesprit. If Ziri's defog Kuno, he can easily go into Kuno and defog, but he doesn't. He decides to just, like, keep attacking and chipping. And Tasker's like, okay, chip my Mesprit, I'll just Healing Wish my Kangaskhan, because I don't need Mesprit. And I just don't really like how Ziri played this. Like, he let rocks go up, and then he specifically went to Poliwrath to kill Tasker's Togedemaru, and completely gives Alolan Exeggutor a free setup. Like, all Ziri does is Toxic it in return, and that's just not really a long-term play. Like, your play is get Articuno in, and either defog, or leave it in until it wins. Because otherwise, Exeggutor is going to Trick Room up, and in theory, should be winning. But it doesn't end up winning, actually. So Exeggutor Trick Rooms is Poliwrath Toxics, and then Tasker does not make a play. He doesn't click Flamethrower as Ziri goes Hard Toad, which would have guaranteed the game, but is also risky. I understand why. Like, he didn't necessarily have to, but it would have won him the game. And it kind of comes back later to bite him. Like, in the game, I saw this situation. I was like, definitely, like, Tasker, he's going to click Flamethrower, right? But he didn't. He only clicks Giga Drain, which means he has to waste another turn killing the Toad. Kills the Mudsdale, kills the Poliwrath with his Egg. But Egg dies as a result of doing all this sweeping stuff. And all Ziri has left is Articuno. Tasker has Drifblim and Kangaskhan, but Drifblim is slower and gets OHKO'd by Articuno. And we enter a 50-50 situation for the entire game, where Tasker can kill Kuno with Sucker Punch, or kill it with Double Edge, and Kuno can either roost up to dodge Sucker Punch and then be faster and kill Kangaskhan, or it can just kill Kangaskhan expecting Kangaskhan to Double Edge. I explained that so poorly. It's a Sucker Punch 50-50. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain a Sucker 50-50. We do know it's a 50-50 because Kuno revealed it was speed tying with Quillfish, meaning it is timid, and Tasker would have known, okay, I'm Adamant Kangaskhan, plus you can calc it, it's Adamant Kangaskhan. So yeah, it is just a 50-50, I'm pretty sure. Like, Kuno's at 27%, Fake Out did 24, so oh, what if Tasker's Silk Scarf? Kangaskhan, PO all out attacker, Articuno. Yeah, no, Sucker did 21 to 24, so yeah, it's a bad roll. So Ziri's best play is definitely just to go for the attack, because he could live Sucker on a roll, and I do think Tasker should have absolutely Suckered here. Because of the roll. I don't know if both players were thinking of that, but either way, Tasker clicks Double Edge, is outsped and killed by Kuno's Supersonic Sky Strike, and then Drifblim just dies next turn, and Ziri wins 2-0, which is a pretty gosh darn big upset. I don't... Where the hell is Hajad? Hello? He literally popped in for one... Hajad, what are you doing?
Bit busy. Hold on.
This is how we run a podcast, ladies and gents. See, like I said, I wouldn't care because most people at least like say what's going on, And I'm like, okay, if he can't tell me what's going on, I assume he got called away by something important. He literally couldn't type. But if he can hop back and chat, he can literally just say what's going on. So, John, I'm on to your tricks. I'm sorry, guys. It's episode 30.5. What the fuck were you expecting? It's already been 20 minutes. All right. So Ziri wins. This is definitely a pretty big upset. I still, like, in none of Ziri's games ever that I've seen that we've really analyzed, in PU specifically. In other tiers, it's a different story. He's never made a big play or brought something really cool. Or I've never been super impressed. And that's concerning, especially since I'm saying that I'm his opponent next round and I'm sounding elitist. I do think I can absolutely lose to Ziri. I did lose to Ziri last time we played. Okay, I'm just summarizing up the Tasker Ziri series because I just continued the podcast without you. I didn't know what else to do because you didn't say anything.
That's fine.
So yeah, Ziri wins. Big upset. But like I said, like there was no real big play from Ziri. Tasker, played solidly to get Eggen, but just couldn't really clutch it out. Ziri had solid teams, played fine, but the biggest thing he did was have a surprise reversal on Togue, and I don't know. There's nothing super impressive, and I can't really root for Ziri. Even if I wasn't facing Ziri, I can't really root for him just because I really want to see bigger stuff out of him. And yeah, in general, we both predicted Tasker because Tasker, I think, is generally pretty good at kind of showing up and playing at the above and beyond level, but Tasker kind of played fine, but had kind of hard matchups and also just didn't play that well. Make any exceptional plays himself to win. Yeah, he needed to go out. He needed to go out there and pick up the game and be more aggressive because Ziri did not do anything spectacular. He just kind of clicked the basic buttons, made a couple doubles and lures, and that was all it took to win the game. There's nothing huge here.
Yep. I mean, the thing is, I think with how Tasker played it, he played it almost as if it was he didn't do anything. I don't think it's fair to especially when somebody wins, to say that they didn't make any crazy plays, because for what we know, it was the matchup. You don't need to make plays when you have a decent matchup, right? You just need to play it out and make sure that.
Yeah, I don't think Ziri ever had any crazy matchups, and I don't think he played badly by any means.
Yeah,
he never did any. He only had one thing that I said that's a bit of a misplay. I don't get what he's doing here, because he really super hard let Tasker set up with a Alolan Egg when there was no reason to make that really risky. But it didn't. It ended up not mattering. He ended up winning, but I don't know. There was just nothing huge in this game, and Ziri kind of just won by default.
I think almost Tasker played himself more than he played Ziri. I think he played himself a bit, especially if you look at the Game 2 team, which I haven't analysed at all. If you look at his Game 2 team, it kind of feels like an offense that just thrown together. And he said, okay, so I have X amount of threats. One of them will win the game. And
yeah, it almost does feel like that. And to be fair, Alolan Egg was super good versus Ziri's team, and Ziri really hard just let it set up.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the end, Tasker was also Kuno weak and got his Togue Pursuit trapped and chipped, so I guess that was kind of the misplay on his side, because he needed to preserve Togue to have a way to beat Kuno in the end game.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate sequence, but. Yeah, I
think we've kind of summarized our thoughts, and all we can do is move on.
Yeah. Yep.
So you versus Teddy. You're gonna have a lot more. I genuinely don't have a ton to say on this series. I kind of agree with Teddy when at the end of the second game he just said he didn't play the series all that well, and I'm inclined to agree. It was more in the vein of how Tasker lost, where I don't think Teddy made any crazy bad plays, but he didn't really do anything to grab the win, and he really needed to, because you kind of had better, not crazy better matchups, but better enough that Teddy needed to do something. So game one, it's stall, and Teddy has a very un-Teddy looking, to be honest, strong offense. He's got an Alolan Rat, and an Alolan Egg, and a Stoutland, and some variant of offensive Mesprit, and a Swanna. So he has a lot of like strong offensive threats, and there's no way we can go like turn by turn through a stall game or whatever. But really, not much happens in this game. He has a lot of offensive threats, but not like he just completely fails to break the stall. Egg gets toxic by Audino really early, almost kills it, but doesn't. Stoutland tries to kill things, doesn't. Swanna tries to kill things, doesn't. Alolan Rat, which I think was his AV utility set with knock and U-turn, like knocks one thing and U-turns out, and that's all. Like nothing ever happens to come close to Teddy winning. And it was a tough matchup because what he has, I think, Band Stout and Specs Egg, right? Which are like, in theory, really strong breakers, but in practice, because they can't boost, they don't really have a good shot of breaking through their checks. So Stoutland never broke through Carbink / Quagsire / Altaria. Egg never broke through Audino / Articuno, and because they're not boosting threats, I guess he didn't really even have a way to. Well, I mean, he didn't have any really clear path to trying to boost up and break or anything, and he never like played in a way to get to that situation.
Yeah, it's interesting how you point out that you think he didn't really have that good of a matchup, because when I was in the game, like playing as the stall player, I could see where Teddy's game plan to win the game was going to come from.
Really? Where is that?
Yeah. So basically, Regirock has a decent matchup versus stall defoggers. So if you look at my defoggers, Altaria and Frostlass. I was about to say Frostlass. Articuno. Regirock beats both of them 1v1. Or maintains Stealth Rock 1v1.
Okay.
Which is
that's
unusual for a Stealth Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in theory, if he gets up Stealth Rock and he pressures between Stoutland and Eggy perfectly, or not even perfectly, just well enough to keep Stealth Rock on the field at all times, he wins. Because at that point, I need to essentially 1v1 his team with Carving, which, all things considered, Carving isn't necessarily the greatest win condition to ever have. You know what I'm saying? Carmine Carving.
Yeah, so, that's hard. I guess my thought with that was that even if rocks go up, Stoutland doesn't really break Carbink / Quag, and Eggy, like, so you'd need to really perfectly pressure Audino, which is actually not impossible. But the problem is, if you have like a sort of, like, you can sack Drampa, you can afford to lose it, and it's going to be hard to pressure Audino given that you have A, an easy death fodder, and B, something that's stopping from freely clicking Leaf Storm, which he'd prefer to do over Drake. No, he can click Draco just as easily, because you can't really risk Carbink as much. And yeah, okay, that is probably a much better way to go about it. But ultimately, also, Regirock got toxic like turn 1 or something. Yeah, Regirock got toxic turn 1. He lets Regirock get toxic 4 rocks. No, I'm sorry, that's turn 2. And that alone means that it's not going to be this long-lasting high can beat your defog. Because as soon as it's toxic, it loses to Altaria.
Well, you say that, but I realized in the game, because that's what my thought was, like, if I toxic this, I can 1v1 it with Altaria and keep rocks off the field. Like, if I defog once.
Mm-hmm.
So if Teddy makes the wrong play once, I technically win.
Yeah.
But the difference is that with Regirock, I have to do it twice because it's slower than Altaria. So he can spam defog and die to toxic.
Stealth Rock and die to toxic.
Spam Stealth Rock and die to toxic. So he can maintain that offensive pressure twice.
Mm. So and he also does have Healing Wish if he chooses to use it on that. I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So he could have Healing Wish. He could have chosen literally anything, and I would have been shitting my pants. But I think the key thing was at Team Preview, I looked at the matchup and I looked at worst case scenario. So I thought Alolan Rat was probably going to be SD based on his team structure. I was thinking SD Alolan Rat, some lefties offensive defog Swanna, Scarf Mesprit, Specs Eggy, and Ban Stoutland.
Yeah, so it's basically the same thing, but he's pivotal Alolan Rat, which is really huge because not having the Alolan Rat threat, even if it is like versus a team with Quag plus Carbink. Literally, I think any boosting sweeper would have given Teddy more impetus. Like without a boosting sweeper, you have to play stall really well. You have to play against stall really well, and Teddy is typically like if there's any PU player that is good enough at playing, that it is Teddy. But this was not the game. I don't think that's that controversial to say.
Yeah,
this was just not the game. Okay,
saw,
we're already at 30 minutes. Wrap this game up. And then we're going to the next one.
So yeah, basically the key turn, I think, or the key, like if I had to lynch this game, or lynch, that's a bad word.
That is a really bad word to use there.
The pivotal moment. Okay, we'll use that. On this game was, when Teddy went for superpower on the Ordino and I clicked protect.
Mm.
I decided to click knockoff instead of switching into anything. Essentially slacking Ordino if he decided to go for superpower again. I made that on a purely gut whimsical type of play, and it paid off like immensely because I managed to knock the Stoutland. So in that case, it was on a Leaf Storm, I think, when I was supposed to die.
It was something like that, and I remember not agreeing with it, but also knowing that like the play was absolutely going to be correct. So whatever.
Yeah, so
that was my impression. I didn't agree with the risk, but I was also completely certain that there was no way he was going to stay in and get the KO. So
yeah, that's
that was a big turn. But even if it didn't happen for you, I think you were still going to win. So yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
It was just about trying to extend that gap. That was all. That was all that play was.
Yeah, and then game 2, Teddy brings the same team, which is interesting because that tells me he feels really comfortable with it and thinks it's good versus you. But at the same time, he didn't play well with it last game, and I'm sure he probably acknowledged that. Being like the experienced player he is, he probably realized in hindsight he could have played the game better.
So I think at game 2, when I was going into this, I was less nervous than going into game 1, despite having a worse matchup technically. Mainly because I knew his techs, so I knew that he was
AV Rat,
Protox, Regirock, AV Rat, and I also knew that he was Jolly Stoutland based on his frustration damage on Quags.
Oh, I never noticed that he was Jolly. Yeah, that really sucks too. Adamant is just Adamant. Also would have been pretty big in this game just to pressure Tangle a bit more.
Exactly, yeah, and. Given that I knew all of his sets, that I knew there wasn't going to be any Trick Room shenanigans with Executor. And if you look at my team is extremely Executor weak, Trick Room Executor. So it's like I could have breathed like a sigh of relief. I don't have to try and play around sets that I don't know. Yeah,
although the thing is, Specs Eggy is still a big threat here. And that's kind of where Teddy's team shines. It doesn't shine if none of the wall breakers stand out. But Specs Eggy being a massive threat that gets a kill with Draco every time it comes in. And does, it can Draco on Aggron locked into the wrong move. It can Draco on Scarf Kabu. It can take a hit and Draco from Kangaskhan and then get Healing Wish. It's faster than Drampa. It's faster than Tangela. It really has a lot of opportunities, and that's kind of where I don't know that you even have a good matchup. I felt like this was in Teddy's favor at that initial bit, but your kind of saving grace is the combo of Frostlass plus Aggron they're both pretty scary. Like Teddy doesn't have an Aggron resist; he just has a Protox Regirock with no move to actually kill Aggron. So all it's doing is just stalling out head smashes.
Exactly.
Which is pretty much a pain. I also depending on your Drampa set, I guess that gets kills, but it's not really that scary, even though it gets kills.
I just want to explain turn 1. I led with the wrong Pokemon turn 1. I think I shouldn't have led with Drampa. I should have led with Aggron, to be honest. Given my knowledge of his team, but I was kind of scared of the Swanna, so I just led with Drampa, predicting a Swanna or Atticate lead.
Yeah, that's fair. Swanna clicks Surf on everything, and your water resists don't take Hurricane very well, so
exactly. So.
It makes Swanna kind of prediction free, which is always good for Swanna. The more it has to predict, the worse it is. The Drampa lead, and he knocks it off, and then you reveal a Z move with Devastating Drake, and the crit kind of sucks, but Like what is your thing with Z Dragonium Z Drampa? What's that all about?
Um, Basically trying to just deal as much damage with Drampa and the ability to change moves and Roost and Carmine, sorry, are the big things that differentiate Drampa from many of the wall breakers that we actually have in PU. So you'll see all of our like top tier breakers, they don't really have recovery, nor do they abuse the Z move slot. So with Drampa, the reason why I picked it to be a good matchup versus Teddy is that ability to Roost, to calm mind, and to deal huge damage. It all like on demand. Like I don't need to have a choice band to do massive damage, and I don't need to have what's it called? And I have the ability to access.
Yeah, you don't have to set up, and you don't have to be choiced. It can kind of be both, which is nice considering Teddy does swing pretty wildly between offense and full hard stall. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable.
This one does really well. Well, when I say really well, it does well versus Teddy Stall. So I thought, fuck it, if he brings Teddy Stall, I'll have at least one thing that has a decent matchup. Although this team in general has a good Stall matchup. It was actually designed, I actually built this team ages ago to play Dundee's in PU Seasonal.
Wow, that's old then.
We never got to the Game 3.
That is so old.
We never got to play the Game 3, so I just recycled this team. I swapped the Togedemaru, which was there over
Frostlass?
Drampa for a I had Togedemaru over Drampa, and I swapped that for Drampa, just to improve my stall matchup a little bit. But because I played Teddy, I remember ages ago. I think it must be about a few months ago now.
We get the story. I gotta keep it moving, Jad. You are telling stories, and I gotta keep. I'm sorry. Okay, so do not. I'm sorry, folks. This is not good podcasting, but there's no way to make this not take long. I try my hardest. Okay, so you get the crit on a Alolan Rat, which makes it dead really early. Although Teddy kind of needs to use it as death fodder to your Aggron anyway. You both get up rocks. And then a big thing for me was when Teddy Leaf Stormed. He gets his Specs Egg in versus your Aggron, and he clicks Leaf Storm, which is he saw that you're rocking him, so he's certain that you're slower than him, which is not something I would have been confident in. But then he's also I don't really know what's going on. Why is he faster than you? Is he faster than you? And if you guys both have all that info, then why is he necessarily clicking Leaf Storm when maybe Draco expecting you to run away was the play? I don't know what happened here.
I think what he's trying to think is try and 1-for-1 trade the Aggron essentially at that point. So I click Head Smash, I don't kill. He clicks.
So he would go to Egg. Basically 1-for-1 trade it with Aggron, but he didn't know you were rocking him with the ability to KO him. He sees you rocking him.
I never got. Okay, so
he frisks you.
Tiny mistake.
He frisks you. He sees the rocking him. He's like, well, I guess I have to Leaf Storm, and you're like, okay, I'm switching out. But what? Could you not have just killed him with rocking him?
Well, here's the thing. I used Draco Z turn 1. So
I
didn't have access to Rock Z.
I totally forgot.
That was completely a mistake in the builder, by the way. Complete mistake. I should have been Stoneplate or Metronome or something. Or even Shoka, to be honest. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean...
Either way, it does work out for you really well. The egg is his biggest wall breaker. He sacks something to get the egg in, and then he only gets a Leaf Storm into the Drampa, and that forces him to fodder his Regirock, and then Egg has to come back into Revenge Kill, which means that -2 with Draco, and he has to fodder that to Head Smash, and there's just no coming back in this game.
The key thing I think was
Swanna comes in, kills Frostlass, but then all you're doing is trading back and forth where you had the earlier kills. If he had dodged Stone Edge, he would have been fine, but he had to dodge Stone Edge to be fine, which is not good, and that's just the game. And I don't know, Teddy just this really hinged on him playing more exceptionally, same as Tasker. I don't think you played bad, and I think you definitely made more plays than Ziri, but in both cases it was just like you guys kind of were solid and they kind of just played themselves. Which is not something I love saying about our big circuit. I still think the teams were interesting, and I don't think either Teddy or Tasker played horrendously, but we have seen them play significantly better at significantly higher levels with I would even say more interesting teams. Even like going and seeing Tasker's recent DPL games, or Teddy being an SPL player, it's not hard to find him being great. But neither one really feels like they brought their A game. I'm being disrespectful. I'm sorry, guys. I love you both, even though you're British.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd just say I felt, as I said, more comfortable in game 2 just because I knew Teddy's team. I felt like if he changed it up, he'd have been in a much better position. Should he have brought literally anything apart from Stall? So I'm not necessarily sure why he decided to go for that. But I felt in a state of like comfort. So it felt more like a process, to play this team rather than like me thinking, oh shit, this is what I have to do on this turn, or like I have to make this play on this turn. And, yeah.
I mean, we did say last time that like maybe Teddy's gonna have a hard time prepping because he also had to prep for NU circuit. I have no clue if that played into it. I'm just saying he did bring the same team twice, so it's there's no point in theorizing. I shouldn't have brought it up. I apologize.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have the next week is already up. I mean, it's been up for a while. By the time this podcast will go up tomorrow, so you got me versus Ziri and you versus Catchup. We may see an Untier Talk finals, but don't hold your breath because I definitely think an upset is going to happen somewhere in here. I still don't feel I do not feel confident until I win. Then I'm like, hell yeah, I won. But before then, I'm like, I'm fucking losing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I think it was PU Unopen, that me and Dibs were in opposing semifinals, and we were like, yeah, dude, it's going to be all Brit finals. And then both me and Dibs lost. So it was like, oh, this is sad. It never happens. It never works out. But
no, but people have been talking to me like, hey, Untier Talk finals. So we'll try. We'll try. We have some tricky opponents. We can't really do predictions unbiased or fairly at all. But yeah, that's coming up. If you're a diehard Untier Talk fan, then you'll probably appreciate this episode 30.5. I imagine most people are skipping over this, but that's okay. We put the less interesting sets in this one, so there's that. No, I do genuinely think that. Anyway, thank you all for listening. No gimmick corner. It's a half episode. It doesn't count. But we'll see you all in less than a week, probably. I basically, we'll put up Untier Talk as soon as the 2 circuit sets happen. If there's extensions or whatever, it might be a little late, I guess, but because I don't want to do it until both circuit sets happen. So yeah, what's a British way to say goodbye?
There isn't really. You don't say goodbye.
No, you just leave,
and then that's it. We pass out.
You just awkwardly cut it off with no explanation.